Coming up on tonight's edition of The Catching Pen, looking ahead to a big Friday featuring the Group 1 Tab Adelaide Cup and Blacktop Finals, we speak to SA trainer Kathy Johnston to reminisce on her Adelaide Cup experience with the immortal Brett Lee, and we discuss what's making news in greyhound racing circles.
Welcome along to another episode of The Catching Pen, and wowee, Mark Olmos, a little bit of a courtesy, just bobbed their head in to do the voiceover, and I guess we should take this opportunity to shout Mark out because it was revealed last week that he and his partner are going to have a baby in the near future. So yeah, from all his old mates here at the Pen, we wish you all the best, Mark. Of course, now and into the future. Roll on with the show. We'll be looking back, obviously, over the past week. The Adelaide Cup will take probably primary focus, but there's been plenty of other heats and events along the way. Jacko, was welcome you in, mate. How was the weekend?
Yeah, it was a good weekend. Firstly, big congratulations to Mark. My only advice is to make sure you get a good daycare. Terrific weekend for me. I went to my first NRL Grand Final on Sunday, so I went there, and I thought I'd go along to the early games, and I must admit the two earlier games were probably a little better watch than the main event. It was a good first 10 minutes, and then once Penrith scored, so I just said to you off air, it was like the stadium was like a prick balloon. The air just got sucked out very, very quickly. So Penrith way too good there on Sunday. Yeah,
way too good. Our little mate down in Victoria, don't know how much interest you had in the NRL over the weekend, Patch, but how have you been since we last checked in with you?
Yeah, well, thanks. We took some sort of interest. Good to see Penrith get the job done in such a dominant team the whole year round, and a big pat on the back to our boy Emo, who's clearly got big sights ahead of him in the future. And Jacko, if he needs any advice, I'm sure he knows exactly where to go from a childcare point of view. But what a 24 hours of racing it was last Thursday, Friday, with Adelaide Cup heats into Blacktop heats, which were just electric. Keen to delve into both of those. But Wiz, have you got a runny nose or something, mate? Because it's a Tuesday. You're running with a hanky. It's a little bit different.
It just goes to show how much attention you've been paying over the last 5 or 6 weeks, Patch, because that has not moved. Quite frankly, it's sewn into the jacket. All I do is just pull it up and puff it up each week, brother. So, yeah, stay hot.
It's like that. It sounds like the Karl Stefanovic theory of where he wore the same jacket every day for 12 months to see if people picked up on it.
There we go.
And not one person did, so
well,
there you go.
Case in point. Excellent. All right, let's get into the news.
The Catching Pen News is brought to you by Darwin Greyhounds, racing every Sunday and selected Wednesdays.
Into the news. Nice try, Patch. And just by the way, Patch will be in Adelaide this week for the Adelaide Cup, so everyone in South Australia, get out there. You'll need a selfie at least and an autograph. The first news topic revolves around Lismore, and racing will not resume at Lismore. Just having a quick look at the article on the Recorder website on Saturday. The board of the GBOTA voted to cease racing at the flood-affected track. Obviously, it's an emotional decision for all involved. Just reading a few quotes here from Alan Hilsinger. They have had discussions with the council, or they will have discussions with the council in coming weeks about the idea of land swaps and that sort of thing. But as admirable as the decision was to pursue it, Jacko, I think we said at the time that inevitably, I think the writing was always on the wall. As I said, I sort of live locally enough to Lismore that I get that news service as well, and they've been debating whether the town itself will be rebuilt in the same spot that it is now. So I think in the end it was a bit of a no-brainer.
Yeah, it was. I spoke to Alan Hilsinger this morning on radio, and he pretty much said it was a unanimous decision by the GBOTA board. The issue that they were always going to have is the location where it is, right on the river, and then also the track was going to have to get restructured in itself, so it was just going to prove too difficult to get it up and running again. So I know the GBOTA are in talks with Greyhound Racing New South Wales about perhaps a new two-term venue up there in the Northern Rivers, so we'll see how that plays out in the future.
Okay, just also reading that, of course, Lismore Cup, Lismore Maiden, the Lismore Maiden being one of the most prestigious maidens in this state. Alan looking to reschedule those to casino, but obviously keep your eyes on the calendar for more information there. Next news item relates to the Ipswich Puppy Auction, which will be held this Sunday. It will be held Yes, it will be held this Sunday at the Showground. It'll be live streamed as well across their Facebook site, I assume, www.ipswichgreyhounds.com. Is their website, so watch and register there. Some of the key lots that have been identified by our breeding student, Catherine Ernst, of course. Fernando Bale Sequana. We're unabashed fans of Sequana here on the pen. Fernando Bale, Zipping Cosmo. China O'Brien, who was a very, very good middle distance greyhound here in New South Wales, Jacko by Superior Panama. And I actually have one of these Shimmer Shine Riccolina Girl Pups patch, so I can certainly recommend one of those. But good to have the puppy auction back on again this year and back to full strength in terms of prize money.
Absolutely, popular series for anyone to get involved, and obviously the race series that follows that's quite hot as well. And clearly you're a big fan of Shimmer Shine, Wiz. I don't think anyone in Australia's got more Shimmer Shine pups than what you do, so maybe stay away from those ones.
Yeah, maybe Dave Gleeson, but I reckon I've got 5 or 6 of them at the moment, so I've certainly put my money where my mouth is anyway. Yeah, register online, and you can bid online as well, which is outstanding. And the third news item relates to Coonamble. They wrapped up their carnival over the weekend. The maiden was won by Pepper Keeping for Shane Stiff and Charmaine Roberts, and it's the 6th time since 2005 that combination have taken out this race. Most recently with Kip Keeping, who's a very good city class dog at the moment, won that event. So there it is, Coonamble wrapped up for another year over the long weekend. I'm sure there were some very, very sore heads yesterday. Let's get into the run of the week.
Racing.
Yeah, 104 the run of the week this week. French Martini 28.96 becomes the first dog to break 30 seconds around the Gardens, Jacko. And look, I won't bore people with the numbers and whatnot, but as I've said before, the records all around Australia, especially at our main city tracks, they're all very, very similar in terms of the inherent speeds and the metres per second. And this 28.96 now just brings the Gardens back into line with those other tracks. Previously, the track record there worked out to a speed that was the equivalent of the Taree track record. So there was always looked to be a lot of room to move there at the Gardens, and I think we were mucking around in the group chat saying there'd be $1.30 the record gets broken this week, especially after Gatlin's flying trial last week. Yeah,
I think that was the key. Once we saw Gatlin go so fast, I think we all agreed that the record was going to get broken, and not only was it broken once, it was broken twice. Of course, Sipping Bailey held the record, Gatlin came out and beat it, and we thought, wow, that's pretty phenomenal. But then French Martini came out and destroyed it there, and I just think we saw her burst onto the scene at her debut, winning at the Gardens in sort of 29-20. It's probably taken her 5 or 6 months of solid racing to learn what it's all about, but I think her last 2 to 3 starts, she's really starting to develop some race sense, and she's going to be very hard to beat there on Friday night in the Blacktop final.
Yeah, absolutely. The honourable mention, how often does this happen from week to week on this show, that we'll have a dog, either the run of the week or the honourable mention one week, and they end up backing up again the next patch? This boy, Zohar Bale, has become a bit of a highlight reel on himself, by himself, hasn't he?
He has. Massive engine. Have a look in there from box 7. He was caught up in all sorts for the first half of the race, and I tell you what, at 10:30 here in Melbourne, there would have been some punters that had cause for concern if you didn't know the profile of Zohar Bale at $2.10. But geez, he can run. It was on identical performance at Sandown in his start prior to that, and he's backed it up in the Meadows. And sometimes you can get a big performance like that, and it doesn't stack up on the clock because of the dynamics of the race, but he's still gone a tick over 2 lengths outside of the best of the night, so he can seriously run. So wherever he goes next, I recommend you tune in, because he's a good watch.
Yeah, he's from a pretty stout dam line as well. His Grand Dam Bale won a couple of Sandown Cups, so you wonder whether that may be his forte in the future. To get us to a break, the Every Dog Has Its Day segment. And this week, it's Nulla's Girl, who was none from 36, with 19 minors, it has to be said, prior to this win for Tamara and Graham Ball at Maitland last Monday. SP 250, how often do we see this? You've got to wait 36, Jacko, and you've got to take 250 to find out.
Nulla's Girl is running it down. Nulla's Girl goes to get to work, and Nulla's Girl breaks through.
Feature Racing ventures to the Festival State this Friday for the Tab Adelaide Cup at Group 1 level. The event is headlined by $1 Million Girl Wow She's Fast, but She will meet a quality field of sprinters, including local star Mally Magic, who registered career win 19 in the heats last week.
Last is San Lorenzo, but have a look at Mally Magic, the South Australian star, trying to get into the Adelaide Cup, and you bet he's going to get there. Away goes Mally Magic and runs some good time too.
Yeah, so that was Mally Magic taking out his heat of the Adelaide Cup there on Thursday night. Of course, besides Aston Rupee, who used to hold the record, and Wow She's Fast, who now does, the only other dog to break 30 seconds around Angle Park is Mally Magic. And as we pull up a market, he's second favourite. It is stark reading though, Jacko, when you take into account that the second Fav got pumped 6 last time he met the favourite.
Yeah, it's hard to make a case, isn't it? But if there's a little chink with Wow She's Fast, it is that middle draw, and that she takes a stride or two to get going. But I think with the fact that Zippy Tesla's drawn to her inside and Photo Man's not going to crash down on top of her, I just think she'll get that clear running. And you've been touching on for a couple of weeks about taking the price that was on offer, and I think we saw $1.70 there. I think she'll start shorter come race time, and she should be winning, you would have thought. Yeah,
do you have an opinion price-wise, Patch, whether $1.70's under or over the odds?
I think it's completely fair. On ability, we know she gets it all right. She's unbeatable. It's just about doing that. I think if it's a hurdle that I see, it's probably Fernando Mick. If he's to really time the jump, he can really stay off the track through that middle section. So she's going to have to do everything right still, because we know there's good dogs in the field, but it's been so long since she's made a blue. So the price is, no argument to me. It's completely fair, and I wouldn't certainly suggest anyone go against her.
No. All right, our first guest this evening. Well, this gentleman's got his finger in plenty of pies, plenty of good dogs, and we'll get to speak to him about a few of them here. Tyson Panagiotou, who's got top quality in the Adelaide Cup, Sacred Stance in the Capalaba Cup, and he was in Pearl as well. So it's been a good start of the year for you, Tyson. Thanks for coming on, mate.
Hello, boys. How are we going? It's been a great start to the year. Very exciting.
Mate, and long may you keep it going. Give us a bit of an idea about how you came to get top quality.
12 months ago, I reckon it was, Daryl called me and said he's going to be for sale. So, but if we buy him, he's got to keep training him. So, so we bought him, and he's had heaps of injury issues. Like, his runs have been so spaced. And about a month ago, I sort of said to Daryl, can we bring him for the Cup? And they agreed. Well, it took a bit of convincing to bring him, but they agreed. And when he got here, we gave him a hand slip, and he pulled up a bit sore in a monkey, so he missed the second box-to-box. So the weekend before the actual heat, we gave him a box-to-box and said, if he goes better than 1770, we'll run him. But he actually went 1772, so we were tossing up whether to run. So we nominated, and we got box 1, so we couldn't really not run. And he went terrific. So, and that was his first 500 for 2 months. So I think he can improve a lot on the way home.
Now, Tice, I saw some vision of you and some other owners celebrating his win there the other night. I've seen firsthand. We didn't know
this camera was set up.
Well, I've seen firsthand how you guys party, particularly after the MDC and the Golden Easter Egg. Just tell us what it would mean to not only yourself, but all your mates that are in top quality, being South Australian boys, to win the Adelaide Cup.
Yeah, it would mean the world, especially having Benny with him now, like winning one with him. And, you know, Michelle and Daryl had him, and now Benny's got him. And home cup. It's so exciting. There's actually 4 boys in this dog that had never owned a dog before. And they're absolutely pumped. Everyone's pumped. I think a few of the boys in the syndicate's wives are pretty happy it's Adelaide Cup and not in Sydney again. But I think we'll be partying all weekend if he wins, that's for sure.
And Tice, we've mentioned this before, you got your fingers in plenty of pies. One of them is with She's a Pearl. Well, lucky enough to have a few beers after she won the MDC. Now, I didn't know about this until today. Now, tell me, you set this straight and tell us the backgrounds. You had to go watch a dog, which ended up being top quality the following day. And you've got a chopper to somewhere near the track. Easter egg, was it? Somewhere near the track. Tell us what happened and how you got to that point.
So obviously we won the Easter egg, and I was with another bloke who's also in the syndicate, and a few of the other lads flew home on the Sunday. And I was like, let's go watch Top Quality on Monday. And I was thinking up ways to looking at how far it was. It was like I think it's like a 4-hour drive maybe from Sydney? I don't know. So I was like, let's just get a chopper and get it done. So we flew a chopper, and we couldn't land in the middle of the track, but we landed next to the track, and we got a few weird looks when we got there. But yeah, he won right on the line, so it was worth the trip.
There you go. That is dead set living, isn't it? Premier League stuff, that. Mate, let's move on to Sacred Stance. He, again, much like Top Quality, he had a few injury careers when you first got him, but yeah, Michelle and Daryl have got him absolutely A1 now.
Yeah, he's absolutely flying. The work they've done with him has been amazing. We got into him after he did a pin muscle at Maitland. We bought in after that, and yeah, since then he's just gone from strength to strength. He's a ridiculously quick dog, especially up the straight. And I know one probably doesn't suit him on Sunday, but I think he'll be winning on Sunday. I'm pretty confident. Yeah.
Now that was...
And obviously a big kudos to Joe for putting us in him. He's a whiz, Joe, and I hate to admit it, but I will.
Yeah, Joey's certainly terrific. And about this Sunday was the question I was going to go with. He's drawn box one. If you had a good look at the race, and obviously you just said you think he can win, at what part of the race do you think he can win it?
Obviously his first step is really important because he wants to get middle of the track, and if he misses it and he's trying to barge over middle of the track, we're going to be in a bit of trouble. But I think if he gets that first step right, that's where it'll be won, and I don't think there's any dogs quicker than him in that race, personally. I think he's the best straight tracker in the country, but it's probably a biased opinion.
Guys, for many of the dogs that you own, when we check them up in the form guide, we see the syndicate name, Beachworms and Co. Tell us what that means.
It's not, well, it got thought of one night we were out on the piss, so I can't actually remember what was the reason behind it. But one of the boys thought up the idea, and we sort of just said, let's run with it. And we started 3 years ago. There's 11 of us in it. So I'm the youngest, 25. Oldest, I reckon, is 35, 36. And we all just, share an interest in drinking piss, having fun, and owning a few greyhounds.
And there's some very, very, look, I can testify, there's some very, very loose cannons in this syndicate. A number of them I know failed to, completely miss their flights home the next day, missed flights to Sydney for the MDC and for the Golden Easter egg.
One of the boys didn't actually get on the flight either.
Yeah, so there you go. So I can only imagine what it'd be like having to manage the syndicate. So, Tyce, you probably deserve a medal for that. Mate, and I mean this with a lot of love, you're the littlest big owner in Australia, mate, so we wish you all the best over the weekend and look forward to more celebration stories.
Thanks, boys. Thanks for having me.
There's Tyson. Let's have a little bit of fun with our guests, and when we know them a bit better, we can have a bit more fun, Jacko. So there you are. Tyson's a good guy, likes to have a good time, and that's what it's all about. To get us to a break, Kathy Johnson, I guess, very, very famously, and certainly fortunately, was one of the owners of Brett Lee, along with her husband Daryl, over the course of his career. Of course, he had many, but they owned him when he won the Adelaide Cup, of course, in amazing style. They built a statue towards it, and we caught up with Kathy last week.
My name's Kathy Johnston. I've been involved with the greyhound industry since I was 17. My father-in-law actually helped build Angler Park. He's in the Hall of Fame, so I've been hanging around for a long, long time. And they give me great joy. We were living in Adelaide and my daughter was racing at Horsham. And we had the Greyhound of the Year that year, Webster Bale, and et cetera, and she was talking to her dad and he said, oh, it was a good time that he ran. Was it the best of the day? She said, oh no, there was this little black pup that went whatever time he went. She said it was nothing short of sensational.
8 or 10 in front, over Pedal Power, followed by Starbright Charm and Max Gossip making up ground, followed by Chantel Miss, but it's all Brett Lee. Brett Lee against the clock, goes down to win by 12 lengths.
and he got a bee in his bonnet and decided he just had to have it. So much negotiations later, we bought him. And from then on, our life changed dramatically. So as you can imagine, it was a lot of fun, a lot of nervous tension, a lot of controversy from time to time. But generally speaking, he was a dear little dog, only 30 kilos, but a superstar, absolute superstar. I'm going back a long time now, but in 1983 we had a dog called Superstar, and he was sensational as well. Once again, like Brett Lee, quick early, which then they've got to catch you. So you've got a little bit up your sleeve where that's concerned, and he won the Adelaide Cup. And the buzz of winning a local race is, I mean, he won Darwin Cups and all over the place. Daryl did travel with him. But the actual thrill of winning your hometown Adelaide Cup, there's nothing like it. There really isn't. I think my father-in-law threw me in the air, which is no mean feat, but he did. and that sort of thing is just, you don't get the smile off your face for weeks and weeks and weeks, because the memory will always be there. And that's what I say to people who have a really good dog. Try and absorb what's going on around you, because those memories will take you for, well, they still do. I can still remember being at places where the dogs have won major races, and yes, I know it's monetary gain and all that sort of stuff, but the actual thrill far outweighs the monetary gain. When you've got a dog like Brett Lee, and wow, she's fast now and all that sort of stuff, the marketing at that time was all about the Brett Lee coming over and will he break track records, same as what it is now. And of course he did, he shattered it.
All set, ready, racing in the Cup. Brett Lee began magnificently, and he's going to go to the front, the favourite from Classic Capri, who drove through to second. Oh, Big Bother was likely excuse. Into the back, it's Brett Lee. Going to second now was Classic Capri. They're 5 in front of Renzo Bale, No Intent. Then came Dutchie's Angel, 10 away to Brandon Bale, Sue Ellen Bale, forget about Likely Excuse. But Brett Lee, he's on the bunny. He led 6 over Classic Capri. Then Renzo Bale into the straight. It's all Brett Lee. We might be looking at a champion here, ladies and gentlemen. Brett Lee won it in 28.87. Classic Capri second, Renzo Bale third, Dutchie's Angel fourth.
But just looking on the screen, the amount of people that came just to witness that, I think. And now you've got Wow, She's Fast coming, and the same thing can be achieved, because as much as people nominate for the race, everybody wants the champs to win. They want to see track records broken. They want to see the heights and the good fun. And I must say, Angle Park, even then, did it so very well, you know, with the advertising and stuff like that. It was just superb. And I think hats off to GRSA for that. And hopefully it'll happen this time too. And hopefully Wow, She's Fast will bring the people. However, looking at her and meeting her the other week, she's 2.5 kilos bigger than what Brett Lee was. I thought, is that really a girl? She's a magnificent looking creature. So yeah, so it's good for the industry to have champs and have trainers that are willing to go interstate and take that dog with them, so that the nation gets to have a look. And I think that's the way we looked at it with Brett Lee, was that let the people have a look, let them enjoy what we're enjoying as well. So, and pretty much that's what they did. So it was good. It was really good.
5 sensational heats were held of the Group 2 Blacktop at the Gardens last Friday. And amazingly, the track record was lowered twice by Gatlin and French Martini. The former showed explosive mid-race burn and stuck on gamely to defeat track specialist Zipping Maserati, registering win 11 at start 30 for John and Minnie Finn.
Clear of a moose, Gatlin in front, Zipping Maserati to the outside. Gatlin pulling out plenty. Gatlin wins heat 1 of the Blacktop over Zipping Maserati.
Yeah, so that was Gatlin running 29.09 to break the record for the first time, of course, there on Friday night. His sectionals, though, as I come to you, Patch, 482.16.93, put French Martini's into, well, they paled in significance. 4.92, 17.01 she ran, but obviously a lot quicker home.
Yeah, well, it's a continuation of what we saw in that MDC semi where he just cut loose and sort of took everyone a little bit by surprise, and it is a little bit of justification, I guess, him doing it last Friday night, and those splits obviously just lighting up the clock, and as you say, compared to French Martini as well.
Absolutely. We'll pop a market up, Jacko, and Gatlin is your favourite here, courtesy of what looks to be a perfect draw in any case. But a little bit of value if you wanted to ship or fish a bit wider with Yuko Girl, Fat Boys Dream, who are both in really good form at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. They are, but yeah, it just depends on what Gatlin turns up, I suppose. Yep. There on Friday night, we've seen him win a Group 1 already from Box 1. He won the Vic Peters from the same draw. Yuko Girls, I think she's going to keep those that are drawn outside her wide to the first corner, which is going to help Gatlin again. The one who could be favoured from the draw is Zipping Kyrios, because if he can get in front of Fat Boy's Dream early on, he might then get the stalking role. And we did see Gatlin get a little tired late, and if there's any chink in his armour late in the race, we know Zipping Kyrios will be there ready to strike. So it's a hot race, but off what we saw in the heats, Gatlin's a deserving favourite.
One of the key runners and one of the more interesting runners in the race is Yuko Girls. It's a $15 chance, a multiple group race finalist, and we've got her owner, Nick Delaroche, joining us. Thanks for coming on, Nick, and must be exciting through to another feature final with Yuko.
Yes, thanks for having me on, gents. Yeah, we're very proud of her, what she's been able to achieve so far. She's only 2.5, but for what she's achieved, you feel like she's a lot older.
Yeah, as I said, consistency's absolutely her strong point, Nick. What do you make of the box draw for her?
Yeah, look, it's a hard one with Gatlin drawing the red. If he begins, yeah, I think it's all over, to be honest, the way he's running at the moment. But if she can jump and there's a little bit of a hold-up behind her, that's her only chance. But for her, as she's gotten older, she has handled the outside boxes a little bit better. But 5 in this race, to be honest, you wouldn't blink twice if this was a Group 1 race, the quality of dogs in this race. So, yeah, fingers crossed, I think, in this one.
Yeah, absolutely, Nick. It is a high-quality race. You touched on the fact that she's made a lot of these group class finals. She hasn't been successful yet. What would it mean to get that feature win in the Black Top on Friday night?
Look, it would mean a lot. I think the bitch deserves a group win. She's been so consistent to win a group race with a legend of the sport up there in Sparrow. That'll be a bit of fun. But you know, and if she won, yeah, well, yeah, who knows what she might be invited to if you can win a race against this sort of field. Yeah.
And Nick, it's one thing to own one like her who clearly goes so well and she's so reliable, she has a lot of pace consistently, but it's another to breed her as well. You bred the litter. There was only a couple that you maintained ownership from. What was it about her that impressed you so much that you thought, right, I'm going to stick by her side?
Well, I bred the litter. Well, I bought the Grandma off the Rinaldis. I wanted to get into that American dam line. And then a mate, Maxi Mars, didn't have any pups. So I, in the mum, I gave him a couple pups to rear and we just went halvies. So he actually got half of the Yuko litter. That's why I ended up with a couple of them.
And you grew up around greyhound racing, Nick, and you've sort of invested into the breeding side of things over the past few years. What was it about that side of things that really took your interest, given you were sort of mostly associated from a strictly racing point of view growing up?
Look, I have always been really interested in the breeding side, especially the stud dogs. Like growing up, I used to know the breeding. Growing up, actually, Wayne Vassallo just lived around the corner from my uncle, so he just used to yell out, you know, the stud dog's name. I could reel them off. But yeah, it's only been the last couple of years that I've really sort of invested. I invested in a lot of bitches, and then the ones I had success with, I went on and continued breeding with them.
And of course, yeah, your brand is New Haven Stud, Nick. And you've got some stars in the stable at the moment. I've got some nice pictures of some young pups by Handsome Prince, of course, the $1 Million Chase winner there. obviously initial stages of after they've been born, getting all the stuff they need to get. But for you, Nick, you've got a really good lineup. You've been supported by some good people, including Harry Menelitsis. How competitive is the scene at the moment from what you do with a stable of good dogs when you start sort of thinking about the dominance that the likes of Fernando Bale have on the market at the moment? How do you perceive it, and how successful have you been over the past few years since you've really invested in it?
Yeah, look, in terms of New Haven, all the studs, yeah, we have been well received. It is hard when they're all starting from scratch. You sort of got a 2-year sort of program until you start seeing results. But I've got Paul Westerveld. He only lives a minute from my house, so he's been a great mentor, and we help each other out. He helps me out with the AIs, and that's been quite successful. We haven't missed any AIs as yet. But in terms of the competitiveness, yeah, you're correct. Very, very competitive. But yeah, look, they're getting some great reports from pups. Jeff Collins rang me the other day on Houdini Boy. From what he's heard and seen, he's now interested in that. So as the pups get older, they start getting broken in. Yeah, hopefully the phones start ringing a bit more for these dogs.
Now, Nick, just having a look at your stud dogs here, the one that interested me was LK's Crushing It. Just tell us a little bit about him.
Yeah, sure. I initially, when I was doing a bit of studying on American lines, I liked this dog, LK's Vespa. So I spoke to the owners. He's a son of Casey and All with an Irish dam line, and he had a great strike rate over there. So through dealing with them and getting his semen over here, while I was in the process of that, they had LK's Crushing It coming through, and there was big reports on him. And yeah, it was only a natural progression to commercially get in a good quantity of his vials, and yeah, with his race record, 153 starts, 93 wins, brilliant early pace. Yeah, some great stats there. And already Wells sister and Zeri sister in Surges has had a litter to him. So yeah, very exciting.
Very good. And you did mention Handsome Prince, of course. MDC just run on one. How's the response been with him with regards to breeders?
Yeah, just steady with Handsome Prince. Shaq's utilising him. He's had a beautiful litter. That was the litter, that photo there was the pay call. So as we know, she was a lady bracelet winner and extremely fast bitch. So I'm sure there's going to be something there, and he's got a few more broods lined up for him.
Very good. Well, mate, we certainly wish you all the best on Friday with Yuko Girl, but obviously into the future with your stud dogs and that venture, mate. So thanks for coming on.
No, thanks for having me on. Hopefully I get that kiss of luck, and yeah, that carries through to the blacktop.
Absolutely. You know it. You get the bump if you come on here, Jacko. So maybe the $15 Yuko Girl's worth getting involved in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, look, she does represent a bit of value, I would have thought, for an on-pacer. Yeah, all right. Well, that's all to take place on Friday. Now, one of the past winners of the Blacktop in 2012, as a matter of fact, was the brilliant Bye Bye Bucks. He was a winner of the Dapto Megastar previous to that. That was when it was run at Group 2 level, and he was also a finalist in the Peter Mossman. But he's his win in the 2012 Blacktop.
And the power is on, the bunny's on its way. This is the Blacktop final from the Garden. Set to jump. Ready? Off and running. Now one of the smartest out towards the inside. Kamada catch up. Zara Zulu going down the outside. Bye Bye Bucks. Bye Bye Bucks has raced to the lead. Zara Zulu around the outside. Spiral Ballerina into the back. About 3 lengths away to Bye Bye Sid. Followed by Kelly Zero into the back straight. And then Kamada catch up. Cavendish Flyer and Bubba's Dream at the tail. Bye Bye Bucks the leader. Got away 2 lengths to Spiral Ballerina. And then Zara Zulu. But it's Bye Bye Bucks in front. Bye Bye Bucks wins the Blacktop.
We start this week's wrap in the Apple Isle, where former Queenslander Litigate made it 2 from 2 since relocating to Tasmania. A younger brother to Group 1 winner Orchestrate, the son of Aston DB is now trained by Mick Stringer and has won 5 from 15 with 4 minor placings.
And then Willen's Way and Wellback Way, Blade Rip on by, but away it goes. The Fave's going to win easily again. Oh, Litigate is a smart type, comes on to win.
On Friday, we ventured west for the heats of the Mandurah Cup. this week's final, featuring a full field of WA's best sprinters. The fastest qualifier is the Shane Williams-trained Unsee This, a son of My Redeemer and Tina's Magic, who took his earnings above $100,000 with an impressive victory.
Unsee This burst clear of Falcon 9. Granite Song's going to miss out on the final, and Unsee This has flown away to win by 4.
On Sunday morning, the straight track specialists were in action at Capalaba for heats of the Consiaka Cup. Victorian raider Unleash Kalinda was brilliant, stamping himself as one of the dogs to beat in this weekend's lucrative decider.
Unleash Kalinda went away from Rothwell Chunk, then Bogey Fury, and Unleash Kalinda 6 lengths on the line.
And finally, on the same night, it's off to Sale, where a class field assembled in pursuit of a $10,000 winner's cheque over 440 metres. He's No Slouch, a brother to Wow She's Fast, lived up to his name, bringing up win 11 at start 35.
Aston Selma tries hard from He's No Slouch in the stretch, coming through He's No Slouch. He's No Slouch has won.
All right, so there's a few little snapshots there. We'll get the boys to give some opinion. Just hearing Cole McNiff's voice there calling Litigate, I just want to look, I don't even know whether Cole watches this show, probably doesn't, but I shout out to Cole. A little bit of humour in this, so don't take it too personally if you own Winburn Chief. But he made Winburn Chief a good thing last week, and I thought, here's one dog who just does not want to win. He's become a bit of a running joke in our group chat. We love how often he runs a place, and he's a place better's delight, but Cole got him home as a good thing, so I reckon you deserve 2 thumbs up, Cole.
Yeah, absolutely. He declared him pre-race, and I was almost going to put in the group chat. We know
it had to happen, didn't it?
Which way this is going. You know, yourself and Muldog had
it was inevitable.
Pretty much just said he could not win, and then Cole's declared him the best. And
bolted him.
And you did both laugh at Cole when he said that, so egg on the face very quickly.
We did get what we deserved. Exactly right. Patch, so come to you. Good to see Unsee This come back to a bit of form for one of your sparring partners, the Shane train. He could sweat for Australia. S. Williams.
Yeah, 100%. It's a good race, that Mandurah Cup, and look, Amplify's clearly the favourite. Unsee This was good, but I tell you what, $4.20 for Vice Grip, that tickles my fancy, because there wasn't a lot between the overall times between the top end of this market, and Vice Grip to me probably got the first few strides upside compared to the other two. So looking at that, I'd be quite happy to take on the 180 and go towards Vice Grip. Wiz, how do you see it?
I'd never begrudge you for looking outside the obvious, Patch. So, yeah, absolutely, Vice Grip's a good chance. I know Jacko absolutely loves Vice Grip, and he mentioned that to me before. Just before I do get a comment from you about him, we'll roll tape on Amplified. 8 from 8 at Mandurah, she is now. 23 from 37. 8 from 8 over the 490, it has to be said, at Mandurah. And, of course, she's the joint track record holder as well.
Yeah, and she flew here from box 8. The only little concern I had was she did begin so brilliantly, but she then wanted to go pretty hard down towards the rail. And I just thought if Unsee This, it might not really cause any issues for her early, but if Vice Grip or Bones McCoy could just make her work that little bit, the first corner, we know how strong Vice Grip is. He might be able to just camp on her back and be a bit too strong for her late. But yeah, I was in agreement with Patch. I just thought the 420 was a nice price.
I'd actually just scroll down a little bit further on that market. I think Momentum at the price that he is worth having something on. I know 27.31 didn't exactly marry up with the quicker times, but we know what he can run, so he might be a bit of value. The other key race coming up this weekend's the Capalaba Cup, and there's your market, which has only just come out. We've got equal favourites here, 260 Sacred Stance and Unleash Kalinda, which makes me wonder how they put up 550 in the heat, Jacko. But anyway, Milligan 360, and then $10 about Beck and Call if you wanted to fish a little bit wider. Looks all right.
Yeah, 13 into $10 already to Beck and Call, but Sacred Stance deserving favourite off his Hillsville Cup win. He was outstanding again last week, copping all that bumping early. I think Milligan will just make the race for him by going towards the outside rail and maybe taking a couple out in the process. And if he does that, as we can see here, he wants to get right to the outside fence.
Yeah, there you go. So exactly. So if you've never seen Milligan before, that's a little snapshot of what he can do there from box 7. Look, you put him in the red, he's still going to want to make his way to the same part of the track as well, Patch. Have you got a read on this one?
I can't add a lot to what you guys have already discussed outside of, I mean, there's less than 2 lengths between those top few. So it's going to be a great battle, and much like the Hillsville Cup, where halfway up the straight you thought, who on earth's going to win this race? Hopefully it's a similar sort of situation there. We get a real good finish between those rockets up the straight.
Yeah, I think, and I'll come back to you again for commenting here, Patch. I think having, look, the Powerbuck Cup and the Hillsville Cup certainly aren't new races, but a few other of those straight track championship races and some others that have just been, I guess, chucked into the calendar, padded out. It seems like there's an actual program now for straight trackers, and I guess everyone's been saying, oh, how many good straight trackers have we got at the moment? I think it's probably just a byproduct of putting on the races for them.
Yeah, it is, and for a long period of time, Hillsville was probably the only one going around the country for ages. So once these others started to get introduced and they become more serious race meetings, it's not going to happen overnight to get these classic series like we've got at the moment. So it is a result of what's been put in place, and I think everyone loves straight track racing when all these fast dogs just get a clear crack to go bang up the drag strip. Not much beats it. So it's a product of what the sport's developed into, and it's clearly a priority because it's one of the safest forms of racing that we've got, which is highly important for the future of the sport, as we know.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so yeah, that's going to be a super race, that Capalaba Cup, and a number of those dogs, as I said, there seems to be a little bit of an ongoing program for them. I guess they'll disperse in different directions after this, Jacko. I know that the Hobart Thousand's definitely on the cards for a few of them, especially Sacred Stance. Having come from Tasmania, obviously, as a young dog, they can go there without having to trial, etc., etc. So it looks a bit of a no-brainer, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Back to the home state and try and get that Group 1. And Michelle Sultana has come out and said that she believes that Sacred Stance is a better one-turn dog than he is a straight dog. So it's a pretty scary thought, considering, as Ty said earlier, he's arguably the best straight track dog in the country.
Yep. All right, to get us to a break, and it's the Kennel Keeper for this week, and I don't know what's been going on over the past couple of weeks, but we've had a real UFC theme, and it continues because the Volkanovski got the cash at sale on the weekend.
Favoured in 4. And racing, and Volkanovski steps smartly from the centre, works hard and finds the fence. Couldn't cross them. Django Maskeel, Akina Onyx first turn. They're in behind the leading division, cruising through, runs up to second, shuffled back Marinda, Retro Rocket and Dr. Ricardo out the back, but the hot youngster Volkanovski's got 3 lengths on cruising through as they turn. They fan behind Retro Rocket, Django Maskeel, but it's 4 out of 4 for the 4. Volkanovski's won by 4.5.
Hi guys, well now that we're into October, the countdown is on to New Zealand Cup night, which takes place on Thursday the 10th of November, and that means that greyhounds all around the country are starting to get ready for the Group 1 Galaxy Sprint and also the Group 1 New Zealand Cup, which both take place that night at Addington Raceway. So we're going to take you back to Sunday afternoon at Manukau Stadium and check out one of the top sprinters in New Zealand. This is Typhoon Tim, trained by Lisa Cole. He jumps off box 6 and he has been way too good, setting a new personal best on Sunday, 18:19. Over the 318 metres. This greyhound's won his last 6 in a row, including a track record over the 375 metres at Nanawith 2. He's really peaking at the right form. This is a greyhound who finished 3rd in the Group 1 Galaxy Sprint last November. That was shortly after he arrived here in New Zealand. And I think he's a big chance of potentially taking out the big prize in about 6 weeks' time. The other dog that we're going to take a look at is Carlos Jewel for Craig Roberts. This greyhound's now won his past couple of races, but we're going to take you back to last Thursday night at Addington Raceway because this dog typically is a little bit slower away and then powers home, but this is what he can do when he comes out running. He draws box 6 and he's gone straight to the lead, and he's been way too good, and he's clocked 29.94, quickest time on the night. And I've got to say as well, while 29.94, it's a pretty good time breaking 30 seconds. It should definitely be noted that it has been especially cold in New Zealand over the last couple of weeks, which certainly makes the time all the more impressive. He's then backed up in Invercargill on Monday afternoon, and he's sort of raced more in his usual racing passion. He's got back, he's stormed home, and he's scored over the 457 metres. So when those markets start to come out for the Galaxy and the New Zealand Cup, I just think Typhoon Tim and Carlos Jewel are worth putting a couple of dollars on those futures. Catch you again next week on Across the Ditch.
Thanks to Liz Whelan there, Across the Ditch. We know plenty about Typhoon Tim here in Australia, don't we, Jacko? He broke the record at Dapto before he left to go over there. You'd think he's going to be very hard to beat in that short course Group 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Those short course sprinters, when they're so good, like Swimming Goat, who went over there, of course, once they get in that zone, they're almost impossible to beat.
This has come along probably 60 seconds too late, but this should have been our hot topic for this week, is that, as we did see on Thursday night at Albion Park, they ran a feature 300-metre race. This has been my argument in the group chat recently, that with the standard of 700s and the fact that we're not getting full fields in a lot of them in any case, I mean, we can be snobby about 300-metre racing all we like, but the fact is it's not going anywhere at the moment. So I think at our major metro meetings, whether it's Wentworth Park Saturday night, Sandown Thursday, whatever the case, we may as well start looking at running 300-metre free-for-alls, because I think they turn over just as good as what an average fifth 500 or 700 would.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you look at, I know Dapto always have a sprint free-for-all on a Thursday night, and it's always a good competitive race. You know what you're getting as far as a form aspect is concerned. But yeah, if you were to run a metro sprint race and you bring in a few other areas into the city, it would create a really good betting race, and I'm sure punters would certainly get behind it.
I'm sure that's something we might see in the future in any case. However, the hot topic this week, and this is just in light of Lismore closing, and that is with the closure of Lismore, do you think this argument of rationalisation is going to rear its head again, Patch? And I'll come to you. And look, to be fair, there's probably only a couple of states that that this would be the order of business for, because the other states really only have 1, 2, 3 tracks. So yeah, I'll pose you the question.
Yeah, obviously it doesn't apply to the national point of view, but there's probably been situations in the past, and this is probably over decades, where the sport's had opportunities to sort of scale back on the amount of tracks going around and whether being held back by local committees or whatever it is. But I think in future, and we've spoken about this a number of times on the show, we need to take a real concentration on the education side of things for dogs, and repurposing possibly tracks that we've already got into some sort of facility, because we know now that there's a ton of pressure on trials, track preparation, all those sort of things, because we do have a lot of dogs who are breaking in at racetracks, which probably didn't happen 10 years ago. So I think it's absolutely vital that we do make it easier for trainers. And as Kat said to me off air just before, a lot of people who get involved in the game don't have the properties to really go out and have the sort of established setups that a lot of people have in the sport who have been a part of it for decades, or families have at least. So I think a venue like this, and I know it's a huge cost, but if you repurpose an existing facility, there's big opportunity there. So yeah, I think probably less is more, but obviously you're only reacting to the population and racing demands that you've got at the current point in time.
It's certainly in a very interesting debate, Patch, the less is more debate. I know it probably only really, in my opinion, affects mainly New South Wales, just for the fact that it's such a big state and there's so many tracks here in New South Wales. I think with Victoria, it's a pretty condensed state as it is. The one area of Victoria that it might affect would be Gippsland, with 4 tracks down that way. But I think here in New South Wales, we're already seeing a super track being built at Taree, and it poses the question, do we see more super tracks? And I know it's a different code, but coming from Victoria, I see the Cranbourne Training Complex, where it's this massive training facility where it's housing thousands of horses. It's got everything that a horse trainer needs there at their doorstep. And is that something that, as a greyhound industry, we might need to go down in the future, building a big complex, a training complex? And I know it might mean that people have to relocate, but they might just jump at the opportunity to move somewhere where all the facilities are there for them already, and they just pay a rental fee as such to rent out some kennels. So it's very interesting. I think it'll probably end up that way, and as far as from a financial standpoint as well, it's probably going to be a lot easier to spend money on one main facility rather than try and keep updating, I guess, facilities that have probably outgrown their age, I suppose. So it's an interesting debate, and it's something that I think will really come to a head in the next few years for sure. Yeah.
Well, I think both you boys touched on some really good things. I mean, I think trying to summarise, with the cost of land, not only the cost of acquiring land, but the value of land. A lot of these tracks are sitting on some pretty valuable land, and we only race once a week. So, are they really worth their weight to the industry? being used the manner that they are, and I guess the cost of keeping infrastructure in A1 nick these days, especially with how hard it is to get the labour force back to where it was pre-COVID as well. So I do like the idea of the on-track stabling or kennelling facilities. I think you touched on Cranbourne. I think we have same setup here with Menangle at the Trots, and I would have thought that if you are going to go down that path of building a centre of excellence, and if, when and maybe the Wentworth Park track goes and that's the path we go down, then maybe they should look at building some kennelling there as well, especially with the cost of land in New South Wales. All right, but in any case, there's a hot topic. Hopefully that'll stir up a little bit of debate, positive and or negative. Let's have a look at the Dog Diary, and it's a big week in terms of feature racing here with the Group 1 Adelaide Cup, the Group 2 Blacktop and the Group 2 Mandurah Cup all on Friday. So unusual for us to have 3 features on a Friday night, but of course the key there is that Patch will be in Adelaide on track with Lachlan Stace, so there's the dynamic duo for you. And Sunday at Capalaba, the Group 3 Capalaba Cup, which we've previewed ad nauseum on this show. So some outstanding racing coming up over the weekend. What will the weekend have in store for you, Jacko?
Pretty quiet week for me. I'll do Wentworth Park tomorrow night, have a couple of days off with the kids, being school holidays, and then Wentworth Park on Saturday. But I'm sure Patch going to Adelaide, his return flight home at the moment, I would suggest is booked Saturday, but if Top Quality wins, he might have to get that move to Monday, because I'm sure he'll be there front and centre with Tyson and the boys.
It wouldn't be the first time that Patch has had to rebook a return leg either, would it, Patchy?
No, whatever it is you allude to is absolutely correct. But no, that won't be me unless we get some real strife in celebrations with Tice over there in Adelaide. I've got to attend a wedding on Saturday, so must turn up in good nick and back up yet again. But I haven't been to the City of Churches for ages. Last time I went there was a test match about 5 years ago, so looking forward to getting over there. And the brand new Angle Park track, everyone's got great reports about the setup there, so really, really keen to have a look for myself.
Yeah. All right, well, I'm predicting there'll be 2 statues at Angle Park by the end of next week, Brett Lees and Patches. That'll see us out on the pen this week, but stay tuned. Patch and I will be previewing the Adelaide Cup straight after this.